do producers get paid less? A lot of people think having a big placement means big money, but some producers get paid like half a year to a year after they sign the agreement. And that's just their advance. With royalties, it's really staggered. You heard the woman.
Do y'all have topics?
We do. We wing it. You know how we are. We don't take anything seriously. What's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. My name is DJ Payne One. I'm joined by Dame Ritter, and Erin's already sick of me.
Speak for yourself. I take everything seriously.
It was a joke. See, you even took that seriously, thereby proving your point even further. Your beard looks amazing, Dame, by the way. That worked for Erin last time. Now you can get off my back. Let's jump right into the topics then, because it's not going to go anywhere with me. Erin, I know we're approaching 2022. December is just like a couple weeks away, which is crazy to think about. And already, I know you've seen them. I think we've all seen them. The Facebook posts, the Instagram posts, the Twitter posts, even the face-to-face conversations where people in the music business, aspiring professionals, are already making the statements, 2022 is going to be my year, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to change this. You know, it's the whole New Year's resolution mindset.
Yes, I think that anything can change in an instant, but a lot of things don't change over time because people don't change. And so I think that January is just another month. January 1st is just another day. But if your mindset is proper, then everything can change. But for everybody saying 2022 is going to be my year, there's got to be indicators even right now. You have to be doing things right now that are going to change the trajectory of that year. So, you know, like if a business is saying we're going to make $100,000 in 2022, they have to have indicators and markers that they're like ways that they're telling that that's going to happen. They have to have a plan to move towards that. So I really am hoping that this encourages people. Don't say next year is going to be anything if you're not already changing your mindset, changing your habits. And this is a gut check even for me. I only have 2 goals next year. So all of November, I have been working towards setting myself up for those goals to happen. And all of this stuff has been set in place. I've been working towards them, but I took away everything. There's no other goals, 2 goals next year. And that is the only thing that I'm focusing on. And so my plan is in place. My mindset is getting right. And I'm retraining my mind every day. And I think the mental tenacity that it takes to stick with things when they don't seem to be going your way is what a lot more of what's required than the initial declaration that this is my year, you know? And I see so many people fall victim to that. And I'm not somebody who's going to bash somebody for not following all the way through exactly, because plans and ideas morph and change. But if you really want something to happen next year, you can't wait for January 1st to roll around and your whole mindset change. You can't wait for January 15th or February 15th to roll around and be like, okay, now I'm going to put a plan in place. I had the goal set. Now I'm going to start working towards it. I feel like if you are not working towards your 2022 goals in November of 2021, you're probably already a couple of steps behind. That doesn't mean that they're not achievable, but considering I'm a highly motivated person and I get a lot of shit done. And even for me, I have to sit myself down and say, okay, what do I really want to do? The average person isn't as motivated as me, at least in my experience. And so if you are not as motivated, and I'm not just saying as me, if you're not a highly motivated person, it's going to take a lot more for you to retrain yourself how to stay motivated, how to follow a plan, how to stick with something, how to see it through even if it doesn't look like how you want it to. So I want to encourage everybody, if you're looking for next year to be a life-changing year, you should be doing the work right now. And a lot of the work is the mental work, and it's the work that isn't fun. It's the discipline. Growing in discipline will get you anywhere you want to be in life.
Let me ask you this.
What are your 2 goals, Erin?
That was my other question.
I want to get fit and I want to get rich. So I have a nutritionist and a trainer. I have a new bookkeeper. I have new systems in place for me to make more money off of the businesses that I'm in. I have a new process for me to say no to opportunities that aren't netting me the type of money that I need. I have a process in place with my therapist to not say yes to the knee-jerk exciting things for me right away. So I'm really working on my mental fortitude even, because part of my problem is that I'm a dreamer and I get excited and I want to latch onto everybody's idea, but it's not beneficial for me. It's just beneficial for them. So those are my goals. Super simple, but I think they're going to be a lot more holistic, because you can be rich in more than one way and you can be fit in more than one way. But both of my leaders are like physical health and material wealth right now. And then I think everything else is going to work around that.
I need to buy the Erin Knight transformation package, because the saying no to bad opportunities and not saying yes to shinier, more appealing bad opportunities, that certainly appeals to me, among other things. I was going to ask, so this whole, 2020 is my year mentality. The issue is that it doesn't come with the work, obviously, because if 2022 were your year, then why was 2021 not your year if you're that motivated? Does this apply to the whole my city doesn't support me, I'm moving and then I'm going to blow up mentality too? Have you thought 100%. About that?
100%. People call me all the time like, yo, I'm moving to Atlanta. And I'm like, don't. Just don't. It is the biggest A market for hip hop. I know homeless people, and this is not hyperbole. I know homeless people who can rap way better than a lot of people. And so your skill set is not going to blow you up. If you cannot prosper in a smaller city with less competition, the likelihood of you winning in Atlanta is exponentially lower. Exponentially lower. It's the same reason I won't leave from Atlanta, because I have grown so many connections here. I have built so much here that I'm going to another city. It's like Atlanta is always my biggest catalyst. So I can go to other cities and win because I have one in Atlanta, but I'm going to keep feeding what's growing. If you have not started growing anything anywhere, then you shouldn't change cities, because nobody's going to care. Your mindset has to change. When your mindset changes, everything that you need is attracted to you. But if you think it's on somebody else, every time you blame an outside factor for something, and not to say that that doesn't apply, there could be people hating on you, but I doubt that, because nobody knows who you are. If people know who you are and they're hating on you, it just helps, right? So yeah, there's trauma that you've lived through. There's X, Y, and Z, but for everybody who's winning, they have those same things also. They're dealing with this same shit. So I think, yeah, anytime people are like, well, this is the reason and that is the reason. No, you're the reason. There's factors, but the only person who can win is you, and the only person who can cause you to lose is you.
Well, there is some logic in moving to another city to be surrounded by the resources you need to create, right? Because it's not necessarily about, because I even tell like content creators, obviously we have a shitload of them in LA, and sometimes I think they want to blow up in LA for sure, but it's more about being around other content creators and having the resources, because like being in Vegas, for example, if you did sketches and you did there's not that many people shooting sketches on a decent level. So there's not as many videographers, there's not as many editors, there's not as many things to support. So if you just want to move to a city and you think it's not about blowing up in LA, but it's about being in an environment where people are doing similar things and having more resources, if that's more of the mindset, then I can 100% agree with that. Because it might be more about that than it is about, blowing up in a city. It's just putting yourself in an environment where more people are working towards the same thing. So you have, a better network, more resources. I'm sure that's why some people move to Atlanta too. Sure, some people think they're going to blow up, but Some people don't feel motivated.
I'd say a minority, probably, because what you just laid out was a really clear, thought out goal that was based on a level of thoughtfulness that is probably possessed by a person who's going to be successful to a degree, no matter where they are. And I think there are people who need to have their backs against the wall to really work. The problem is, if your back's against the wall, you've moved to an entirely new place. Now you got to hustle. You may find yourself being in survival mode is not conducive to you being in creativity mode. You know what I'm saying? And so that can be a problem. And then you just end up surviving in the very same way that you would have survived in your first location, your native home, and just, probably wherever you move, there's a higher cost of living. So, maybe you come out of there as a stronger person. And I've seen that happen. I've seen people become stronger people as a result of moving to bigger cities and really having to fight. But they don't necessarily blow up as artists because of that. It's more like self-development, which can help. But that's maybe not the initial goal. I think, a place like my city that's just so anti-hip hop, I don't blame people for wanting to leave and go elsewhere. I just always worry when the people who are leaving are just kind of sitting on their hands a lot of the time, or consistently repeating mistakes. This goes for any locale. If you're making the same mistakes over and over again in your city, you're going to repeat them no matter where you go. You bring all of that with you. So if the problem is within you and you're not motivated and your strategy isn't right, then your surroundings aren't going to fix all of that in all likelihood. I appreciate what Erin's saying, just encouraging people to really have those uncomfortable conversations with themselves. Because if you have to come to terms with the fact that you're not getting any shows because you're not networking with people who get shows, when you're not actively working on putting on the best possible stage show you can, when you do get shows, so that you build fans and impress the venue owners and the promoters and the artists there that could potentially book you for more events, then that's on you. That's not because of your city. Like for someone like me, if you can't make 5 beats a week at least in your city, what makes you think with your back against the wall in New York, living in a studio apartment for $2,500 a month with 6 other people, you're suddenly going to become Timberland? That's the part that concerns me about this mentality.
I obviously don't think you have to move in order to be successful, but I support young people getting out of their city, like as soon as you're ready, as long as you know what you're getting into. I remember doing the summer in New York when I was in college, and I'm not a New York person. I definitely prefer the West Coast, but it is a different environment in New York. It's a different pace. So I just encourage young people to get out of their city and see the world, get out of the country, see the world, because you're going to be around people. Sometimes you need to be around like motivated people, right? Like that's why college is, people look at the high price of college, and, obviously a lot of people are leaving college with a ridiculous amount of debt. So even that has to be a calculated decision. However, once you get to college, you're going to be around a lot of people that, have huge aspirations, big dreams, and it's hard not to be one of them, right? So just being in that environment is very positive for your career and just for the betterment of your development as a young man or woman.
I definitely regret not moving. And sorry, Erin, I probably would have moved to Atlanta in like 2008, but or at least just like gone to Atlanta for an extended period of time. I think
so.
Maybe
I support that. And because I've done that. I lived in Oakland for a month when I was young in my career. I went to England for 2 months. And I've traveled all over Europe, Africa, South America. So I support that. My thing is that moving to a new city won't fix your bad habits. I think that's just if you're thinking that moving to Atlanta, because one of my artists, I got his entire production team to move down here over the course of 2 years. And I'm helping them place beats. Like one of the guys, I started getting him on tour as a DJ. So like, it's because these guys were moving. So I'm not telling everybody don't move to Atlanta, but I think that people just think moving to a new city is a quick fix for a lack of motivation. And they like blame their situation. We're in the internet age. I feel like if you can't get something started in whatever town you are, whether you're in a big city or a small one, I just feel like the environment probably won't motivate you like you think it will. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many people who come to Atlanta, they're like, especially Black people, they're like, man, there's so many Black people here moving. I'm excited. I'm encouraged. And every time I see them, that's just all they're talking about. They're like, man, Atlanta's so inspiring. So many Black people moving here and just doing things. It's just like, yeah, what are you on? Like, man, I'm about to go to the studio soon. I'm like, you know, and it's like, yo, why didn't you come with songs? Why didn't you come with some sort of MVP? What is your minimal viable product? That's what I'm saying. I think artists got to treat music a lot more like business. What do you have to offer that you're trying to grow? If you have a tangible thing that you're trying to grow, then sure. But if you just come in because you feel like Cincinnati isn't for you, then I'm just like, sorry, bro, I don't think you're going to make it in this city because it's laid back, but you still got to fight, you know?
That's why I like Atlanta, because it's like, so LA is deceptively laid back and New York is I'd say New York is deceptively fast paced. And Atlanta is, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. Atlanta just feels more honest in the sense that in LA, someone will be laid back like, yeah, you can come over to the studio sometime within the next 7 months. And in New York, they're like, nah, son, let's get in right now. And neither of those opportunities will pan out. And in Atlanta, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll go to the studio on Friday. And then it actually happens. And then something actually comes out of it. I don't know why. It just feels artistically more sincere, maybe because it's a younger art economy than New York and LA. And so there's just more openness about collaboration. I don't know. I'm not from there, Erin, so you tell me.
I think it's also a higher rate of success if you're consistent. I know people who have lived in LA, like I graduated with a guy, he moved to LA and this is, again, no disrespect to him, but he's just treading on like mediocre success, like consistently, just kind of still trying to make stuff happen. And I'm here and make a lot more organic connections. And I would say he's even more motivated than me because I would not still, if I was not 10 years in, if I was not making stuff happen, I'm too smart to still be hanging out in the music industry. I would have just gone and got a corporate job, made my money and financed stuff on the music side. So for me, and not to say that he's the end all be all, but I see so many people, not that LA, you can't make it, but I think that especially for Black people in Atlanta, there's this desire for us to see each other win. So there's this extra incentive that if you actually have some value to offer, we're going to figure out a way to help you exploit that. Whereas in LA, my personal experience is that if it does not offer explicit value to the person who is trying to help you, then a lot of times they're not going to help you. On the higher end, people do help you. Like I have people like, even like Dame will throw me stuff that I'm like, damn, like he didn't have to do that because he's like on the higher end. But peer to peer, where it's like everybody's still trying to figure it out. In Atlanta, I'll pass on opportunities because I know somebody is better for it. And I'll give up opportunities because I know that they're going to come back around to me when it's better for me. I have no confidence in any other city, especially not LA or New York, that people will do that. And I think that's like, there's just a community aspect in Atlanta where we actually, if you know somebody that I know, then I now care. Whereas in LA, it's like, that's just used for the sake of name dropping a lot of times, or just used for the sake of advancing stuff. And this is not to shit on your city, Dame. I'm not like at all coming for LA because I think LA has like some valuable things for sure. But when it comes to I think the communal aspect there, I don't experience the crabs in a barrel. When people say that here, it's usually people who aren't from here who are talking to other people not from here. But Atlanta is a big community. I'm 1 degree of separation from every connection that I could ever need in Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't take offense to it. I mean, I think any city, yes, you can make general statements about cities, but you can have some very different interactions. With LA, it's really about like who you connect with. There's all types of people in LA. There's shady people, there's cool people. It's really just about, who you link with, what networks you tap into. But ultimately about your topic, the important thing is, even your goals were very vague, but it's very obvious that you have very tangible things that you're going to do in order to reach your goals. I think that, a lot of times people just throw out really vague stuff, and then I'll ask them, specifics about, well, what does that mean? What does rich mean? What does poppin' mean? Because you have to know what that means in order to put the proper plan in place to know at the end of the year if you met your goal, right? Like if you put a vague goal out there, you say, oh, well, I want to be popping by next year, and then next year passes and, you have 500 more followers, you can be like, yeah, I reached my goal. I'm popping. Like, well, was that what that meant in the beginning of the year? Like, it's easy for you to trick yourself or to convince yourself that you're moving if you don't actually put metrics to your goals. And then you keep doing that year after year, and then you don't really ever move because you just convinced yourself that you met your goal, but you didn't even really have a specific goal to begin with.
That's why the fitness goal is so easy. You either get a 6-pack or you don't. And so I'm on board with Erin 100%. I'm trying to get a 6-pack, and I'm trying to put a couple $1 million on my 6-pack and just lie around like that. Take some pictures. Thirst trap.
So Payne's goal is a money phone with his shirt off in December 2022.
Yeah, that would be, well, I think I can achieve it sooner. I just need to avoid as much pie as possible during the holiday season. That's going to be the hardest thing, honestly. And then my sister's talking about, we got to make pies, and I got pie ingredients. But there's this thing where they say if you make the food, you're less likely to want to eat it. So I'm praying for that. I just want to very quickly transition with the most hilarious, insulting comment that I think I've read all week on our Dizzy Wright episode. A gentleman says, without these artists y'all talk shit about, you wouldn't have a job. So it's cool. Hashtag still moving. I just love this because it doesn't make any sense. And like there's like no indication that we make a cent off saying anything about Dizzy. I just love those kinds of comments where I can see someone typing it and thinking like, I got these motherfuckers, man. They can't say shit now because I know they make 6 figures every time Dame mentions Hobson. He checks his bank balance and it's just doubled.
No, I think the guy's probably saying that the artists are what made our careers and therefore make us money.
Dizzy didn't. Right. I've never worked with Dizzy, right?
Right. That's basically what that verbatim almost with
the artist that made my career is Jeezy. Right. I've never said anything negative about Jeezy a day in my life. It's just funny to me. But Dizzy
no artist has ever made my career. That's my statement. There are no artists that's ever made my career. If the artist folded, I would still be here. Most of my artists have folded. I stayed consistent. They were a conduit for me to continue. But the truth of the matter is I would have hopped in a different car and kept it moving. So no, these artists, fuck out of here. That's crazy.
No, a lot of people fold. So that should be a topic in and of itself, like tying your career's fate up with others. That's how I came into the game. Like I needed people around me. Everyone folded, actually, except my friend this is a perfect segue. My best friend who's still #1 on the Billboard this week because Summer Walker's album is just absolutely crushing everything, which is dope. Congratulations to everyone involved. And it's not just my one friend, it's also Dream Life and Dylan Graham, which is amazing because that's 3 people I know. But the man who has the distinction of being considered my best friend, he's a part of that. And he recently reached out to me and was, we just talked whatever casually, and he mentioned how annoying paperwork was. So I assumed he was talking about the Summer Walker paperwork, and he wasn't. He was talking about a completely different placement that he had told me about damn near a whole year ago. Obviously he hadn't been paid for it, and this has been my experience too in most cases. That's why when I really jumped into the whole online beat leasing thing through BeatStars, it just kind of blew my mind, because I'm like, you mean money now? I can support myself now? So here's a question. Both of you work with artists, recording artists, producers in various capacities, managerial, booking, etc. Do producers get paid less? A lot of people think having a big placement means big money, but some producers get paid like half a year to a year after they sign the agreement, and that's just their advance. With royalties, it's really staggered. But I'm just wondering, do other creators like rappers who do features or sign whole deals with labels wait this long? My gut feeling is no, because if they did, if like Lil Uzi Vert signed a $3 million deal with Warner or whoever he's with, I don't think it's Warner, is it? I don't know. Well, whoever it's with, and he waited 6 months to get that money, there'd be hell to pay on social media with his fans. But because but the two of you know, I don't know. You manage
the advance should come when you sign the paperwork. But it
doesn't. But I'm saying, in your experience with the rappers that with Funk Volume, you probably paid the advance right away.
Yeah, whatever we agree to, if it's upfront money, that's what it comes up front. Like it should come up front, and then anything on the back end is paid according to however your royalty accounting works. We only paid twice a year. So, but if we were paying up front for the beat, then we would pay before the album came out.
Because it's a chase. I'm speaking as a producer. You got to chase down your money a lot of times when you sell a beat to a major or even a large independent. Like I remember when I had a record on, I don't know if it was Joe Budden's last album, but it was one of his last albums. And I had to reach out. That was through E1. And I had to reach out to Imani. I'm like, yo, it's been like 8 months and I haven't gotten paid for this track. And Joe Budden was actually with him, and he called E1, and then I got my money. So shout out to Joe Budden for that. But this is a typical, any producer watching this who's gotten a major placement is probably like, yeah, I had to go through the same thing. So is it just us, or is this widespread?
My experience is that it's everybody. Def Jam still owes us money, and our deal is done. So we got the upfront. It was like our advance was interesting. So we did like a 50-50 situation. So we got the upfront part of the advance, but we had deliverables that we had to turn in, which were turned in within 2 months. And I'm sitting here 18 months after the fact, still waiting on that check. So and it's like we had to, every time we followed up, it was like, oh, well, this is some more paperwork. Well, you got to be entered into this database. Then you have to submit this invoice through this thing. And then, oh, did you send the invoice over here? Once the invoice is in this and you sign up for this new database, send an email to this person. And it literally, to a point that so we just got our lawyer on it, which sucks because now it's like we're about to lose half of that money because of all the back and forth that the lawyer has to do. But after 18 months, it's like at this point, I'm either not going to get paid or I'm going to get half of it maybe in a year. But I would say, honestly, the last people to be paid in my experience, even behind producers, are songwriters. Getting a songwriter paid is the absolute worst because a producer at least will get the upfront like fee for the song. A lot of songwriters don't. So then it's like the splits, and then you're waiting for the recoup. And then it's like, well, no, this part was supposed to be before that. We had agreed on this. And then a lot of times, something that I didn't realize until we started doing major label placements is that those songwriter splits can still be negotiated after the song comes out. So it's like we agreed on something and then y'all, and it's on paper, but then it's like, okay, well, these things have changed and now this label is involved and we actually did this global campaign. So we're actually asking if you guys would be okay with taking this much. And so I don't know. Like,
it's on paper and signed?
Yes. Listen, I've had it with a producer with royalty splits before too. Like same thing with the Def Jam thing. We in 2018 had a song, everything signed off on. And then when the Def Jam situation came around, like the publishing conversation that's what I was telling you. Somebody was like, yo, just don't blow the deal. Work with the producer, give them a slightly bigger percentage. But that was news to me. I had never, and I was told that our lawyer could handle it. But because if the lawyer were to get involved and it was a back and forth on us on the publishing side, we may blow the whole deal. So I don't know. People think that when you start playing with major players that you're going to get major money, and what you're going to get is a major headache. Our first big placement checks were supposed to be, like you do the net 90 and then it's the publishing. Our first big placement checks took 9 months to pay out. I've had some that took 12 months to pay out. I don't know. I think to me, the sweet spot is working with independent artists who have like who make a full-time living, because then you're just going back and forth with their business manager and lawyer. So it may take you 2 months, but you're going to get the money. If you have to go through a label and you know what I'm saying, like even brand deals. I'm doing something with a huge liquor company right now. We're a month and 10 days into our deal, right? It's a 3-month campaign. We still don't have the contract, and we're working on good faith because it's such a huge contract, but they're like, the legal department has to figure out these and these things. So we just have the memorandum agreement. And I don't know, I just feel like there's no real rules to this. So I'm with you, Payne. I've experienced a ton of headache. I feel like the bigger the money that gets, the longer they're going to give it to you, but the longer the delays take. With big companies, I feel like they're willing to just cut the check. They're like, okay, net 30, whatever. But if it's labels, publishers, lawyers involved,
there's no net 90 language in a producer agreement. It's just, they say advance. So I was always thinking I'm going to get this in advance, but all that means is I'm going to get this before I get publishing before I get additional royalties on the master. It's only in advance of that. And oftentimes you don't even get those. So that means there's really no timeline. But you brought up a really excellent point that I had completely forgotten about, because back when I had, and a label that's a absolute pleasure to work with is Strange Music, by the way, in terms of how they handle things. Payment is fast and they communicate really well, and they have a whole staff of people, and they're really nice people.
That's good to hear. That's dope.
Yeah. Shout out to Caitlin. And when you remember the name of the person who's the point person for finances, that's how you know it's a good label. But what was I gonna say? Way back when I had a manager who was from Atlanta, Ivan Rivera, he had this conversation with me because it seems like every time I get a placement with a big label, there's a new payment policy. They've switched their systems and now they're requiring a new kind of form. The last placement I had, I think, I forget the label, so I shouldn't say, but there was a form I had never heard of, some kind of federal something or other that I had to sign. It didn't make any sense that I had to sign it because I never had to sign it before. It's just more bureaucracy, and I think that's strategic. And so when it happened to me years ago, when I was managed by Ivan Rivera, he was on the phone with me. I'm just like, damn, they're making me do all this. And it was a policy change where they're no longer sending a check. It has to be ACH. And Ivan was like, yeah, but think about it. How many people doing what we do are financially literate enough to even have a bank account? Like, I think all three of us are privileged in the sense that we are educated, we're financially literate. How many people that we grew up with can say the same? And I look around at all the people that I work with regularly. Some of us can't have bank accounts. Some of us really don't know what the hell to do with money if we had it. And the labels requesting something as simple as an ACH form could mean they just don't get paid, period. I don't know what the statistics are, but like, you know, let's be real. This isn't like the kind of creatives we're around aren't necessarily the ones that have been financially privileged their whole lives. So what is happening here?
Well, look, we can't. I mean, of course, there's people that can't get a bank account, but you know, if you're going to operate in this industry, you're going to have to raise your level of professionalism. We can't lower the bar and be sad for. Well, I guess we can be sad for.
I'm sad for them, but I'm not saying lower the bar, but I'm saying
this is the Music Entrepreneur Club. If you want to have a business in the music industry, you're going to have a business. And having a business means having a bank account. So yes, right. We can't feel sad for people that can't open a bank account, but we can't. I'm not going to be mad at a label because they didn't pay somebody because they didn't have a bank account. If you're in this industry in a professional manner, like we can't lower the bar that low and be like, all right, well, they didn't have a bank account. We have to, you know, that's too low. I'm not saying they shouldn't be paid, but you know, again, if you're tapping into our podcast, you should know like you need to have a business account because this is the Music Entrepreneur Club.
But why can't they write a check? So my thing is this: a person who's not even a full-time producer could still get a placement. A person who made their first beat yesterday, just as an 18-year-old fresh out of high school, doesn't know anything about anything, could get a placement. And now, and granted, it's a learning experience, but I can't necessarily justify some of the label's practices that would create all these roadblocks and barriers to him getting paid because they're not necessary barriers. I understand the necessity of having a business account. I understand why at some point an artist should have an LLC, but I think you can learn all this stuff incrementally. If you're so lucky that somehow you end up getting this opportunity to work with the label, why can't they write you a check? There's nothing about federal law, state law. There's just nothing that prohibits that from happening.
I don't think that's going to stop somebody from getting paid though. Like you're going to, I haven't had these experiences you guys have had. Like I can't think of one time where we were supposed to get paid that we didn't get paid. So maybe we're the.
What's the secret, Dame? Tell us.
Please.
I have no idea. I literally can't think of. Maybe there was a show where we didn't get paid, like everything. Maybe on a show, like. But if it's in every contract that we've gotten involved with, like the money came how it was supposed to come. Like I don't. So that's why I've been so quiet hearing your stories. Again, not to say that it's not a problem, and that obviously I believe these stories are real.
Dame thinks we're losers. I just haven't
had the same experiences, honestly. So
how do you structure your contracts for shows, or how did you rather? Oh, I guess you're still doing it in terms of money up front, money at the door, money prior to performance. What is that like?
So we had to learn this from the ground up. Matter of fact, I took Strange's tour contract, or didn't take it. They gave it to me, and we just, because the first shows that we did, we booked them all ourselves, you know, and then we would typically get half up front. But then, you know, when we got a booking agent, they didn't really require half up front for everybody because they had existing relationships with these promoters, and these were more legit promoters across the board. So, you know, we always got paid. I would say we collected 99.34% of what we were supposed to collect on the road. I mean, I think we just maybe we just got lucky. I'm definitely.
I've never had an issue with shows either. I always get paid on shows. The one show that I didn't get paid, the bass player or the guitarist booked it, and he didn't want to go talk and settle up. And I'm like, let me go find the promoter. It was the whoop-de-whoop. But I, in my entire 10 years, only had one show we didn't get paid for, and that was at the very beginning. Shows I don't have a problem with.
That's the worst, though.
Most of our checks we get, it's literally just the labels. Do you know what I'm saying? That's it.
We just did some influencer stuff for labels, and we just got sent like this portal that we have to sign up with in order to get paid. So maybe I'll have a different story to report in a couple of weeks. But I even think that money should come too. The
influencer stuff pays right away.
But we'll see.
That's what's so, and it's usually a third party company. That's what's so crazy. And I always think it's a scam because it's someone with a weird email address that's not connected to the company they represent. And then I end up like the last one I did for a pretty popular app. I got the money from some Russian company. I'm like, okay, but it's money. It has to be legitimate. So there are certain domains in which I've never had an issue. Shows, as a DJ, having that conversation, fam, we didn't make the type of money that we thought we were going to make. So I just want you to come into the kitchen with me quickly. I'm not going to any type of kitchen with you. We can have this conversation right now. And I've hated those conversations, but that was like my move to New York, learning how to just look someone dead in the eye and be like, nope, not gonna do this. Don't do this. And if you do it, all right, you can kiss your reputation goodbye because I got a big ass mouth.
I don't know how to button up this topic, but how get Adam on it. That lawyer, because I see him chasing people left and right on Twitter. No,
I'd love to talk to him about that.
Because he seems to be pretty effective at getting money.
But that's the issue, though. The fact that Adam has to be so damn aggressive shows you that there is a widespread problem. And the difference between Adam and every other producer and lawyer who represents them in the business is that he's just vocal about it. It's happening silently.
It's hilarious. I do wonder. I mean, and I don't think anything that he's doing is wrong. I'm gonna put that out there. But I do wonder if some of his tactics affect the business sometimes in terms of like people wanting to say, who's your lawyer? All right, well, yeah, nah, he's out of pocket. He's sharing too much of our business on Twitter. Like, does that and he probably wasn't even know the answer to this, because if it is affecting the business, like the people aren't telling him, he's not going to know that he didn't get a deal because of his aggressive and very public tactics on Twitter. But I wonder if it has negatively impacted. But again, I'm not saying that he's wrong. He seems to be in the right, at least contractually, for everything that he pursues.
Well, you got us blocked by A3C, so we all have our.
Hey, I told you, as I inch more and more out of the music industry, I probably will be more and more vocal about things that.
Do we need a disclaimer?
I don't agree with. So that's just.
Yeah, when that new podcast drops, we both got to be rich because everybody's going to hate us.
Yeah, yeah, nah. But the last thing that I wanted to just, I made a tweet, and we try to be very select, or at least I try to be very selective with my words, because people, and you're not going to be 100%, because people love just to be right on the internet. So that's the number one goal, is to just not be wrong in front of your other followers or friends. Right. So I made a post that says, I'm always telling artists that you need fans, not friends. You need customers, not friends. And, and so I made that post that you need customers, not friends. And then people twisted it and said, no, that's messed up. Your friends should support you. I was said, well, I didn't say that your friends shouldn't support you. I think your friends should be support. Your friends should be everything a true friend should be. They should be loyal. They should be supportive, caring, loving, honest. But that doesn't mean they should buy shit that they don't need. Right. And even if they do it one time, if they buy a shirt from you or buy some music, if they do it one time to be supportive, you can't keep depending on that person to continue to do that, to continue to bankroll your music career, because you just have to think about it as another, think about it as another product that somebody's selling. Like if somebody is selling, on Twitter, I use the example of turtlenecks. Like if you're, I don't know why I said turtlenecks, but if your friend's making turtlenecks, you don't need or want a turtleneck. You shouldn't be expected to purchase a turtleneck. Maybe you bought one and you gave it to somebody that does like a turtleneck, but you're not going to expect that person to continuously buy a turtleneck every season, and some of you guys are making turtleneck music and that people just don't want it. Like they don't want it.
I have to take a sip of tea every time Dame says the word turtleneck.
Yeah, but they just don't want it. So if you have to find your target audience, you have to find customers, not friends, not family. And you're going to lose your friends because you're going to get upset. I always see these posts like my friends, family not supporting me, like you can't expect people to buy stuff that they don't need or want. They can be supportive. They're encouraging. Hopefully they're honest. That's everything that a friend should be. But at the end of the day, you need customers. You need to identify your target audience, and you need people that are going to support your career because they like what you do. So stop making turtleneck music, basically, is the point.
That's my favorite part of this, the turtleneck music. And I feel like, what do you expect? I have so many people who make music in my life that I love, and I'm not rocking with their music, or it's cool, but like, people give me free shit all day, every day. I'm not going to buy your shirt. I'm just not. I'm trying to be a minimalist. I know 1,000 artists. I manage 20 of them, basically. It's just like, so you're going to say that I'm not a real friend? No, again, you don't have a value proposition. You don't have an actual business because you don't have actual customers, and you're blaming your problem on the people who care about you. And that's a quick way to have people who care about you be upset with you. So it just sounds like a vicious cycle. I do think your friends should support you, but I think that you should make tight shit. And that if you make dope stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know with my company, with Build Your Own Dreams, everybody's not going to buy our merch, and I'm not pressed about it. But we got music you can stream. We got stickers you can buy. We got posts you can repost. We're sending people to therapy if you want to donate. If you still just don't want to do any of that, I'm not pressed because I love my brand and I know it's viable and I know it's dope. I don't see it as you're not my friend if you don't purchase from it. I'm actually surprised half the time when my friends purchase. I'm like, yo, you didn't have to do that. Like, thank you. So I don't know. I think it's weird to require the people in your life to be your fans. I just feel like that's like if you open a hot dog stand, like you said, and I don't eat hot dogs. Now you feel like I'm not real because I'm not buying your hot dogs. It's weird.
Yeah.
And then those are the people that say, oh, you could be a vegan, but, buy it for someone that's not.
That.
All right.
Yeah. But I think that's, we've talked about this before, and this is something that I tried to do with Funk Volume is, you create other entry points for people to be a fan that they genuinely are interested in. And that was one of the things that was the mindset behind starting Funk Volume Fitness when I wanted to start Funk Volume Fitness. So, eventually I thought that even if you don't like the music, if you're into living healthier, then maybe you might want to tap into what we were doing with Funk Volume Fitness or Funk Volume in the community. Maybe you don't like the music, but you want to give back to the community and you want to join one of our events. That was the whole reason. I mean, outside of those just being genuine interests of mine, so it's kind of selfish as well. It just gives people an opportunity to tap in with the brand that maybe wouldn't have came to an actual show or purchased a piece of merchandise, right? So create these different entry points. So there's an artist named Propaganda who does this very well. You know, he's got like coffee, he's got a podcast, he does motivational speaking. Like he has so many different entry points to tap into his world. You know, but if you don't like any of them, he's completely cool with that, right? Like, but he's trying to just create different things for people, you know, with different interests, because I think artists are multi-dimensional. So you can share other interests or start businesses and other interests. You know, if you don't like Scotty ATL's music, maybe you want to buy a grill, right? Like create those different entry points for people to make a purchase that they can actually use and stop looking for a handout, because those handouts.
You said build a world. And that's literally the exact verbiage that I use with my artists. I'm like, we got to be world builders, because if we build a world, then there's something for a lot more people than just your music. So I'm 100% with that. I think, again, artists don't look at themselves like brands. If Walmart just sold apples, they would not be Walmart, you know? And I'm not saying selling a ton of random bullshit, but if it aligns with your brand ethos, if it makes sense for you, then you should be exploring, you know, and then that you're limiting your music, your money. Music is a loss leader. I always say that. If you're only going after people engaging with your music, you're a whole person. Music is such a small part of that. You could be capitalizing on bringing people into your world and your likeness and your understanding. It could, you know, like even this is just a facet of all three of us. All three of us have so much other stuff going on, but we sit down and we do this podcast because some people like the oral form of the understanding. Some people like the visual aspect of it. Some people are now going to get on my page and watch my videos. Some people are going to get on Dame's page and then find Big Jaw. And then 1 week notice, you know, some people are going to get on Payne's page and be like, yo, I love these loops. So I think we just have to be multidimensional in the way that we attack this thing.
Well, and as an artist, what are you doing with your art if not bringing people into your world? You listening to music is not just this passive thing, or it shouldn't be. I mean, if the art is effective, you're really capturing a person's mind, body, spirit, all these things. If your art is effective, and so your content strategies should mirror that and expand on that. So that's I don't know. There's a lot of agreement today among the three of us.
Well, the last thing that I would say, just kind of a separate point, is like, because once people no matter how people find you, whether it's your podcast, your shirts, your music, your efforts in the community, like once they tap in, they're typically kind of in. So it gives them more of a chance to learn about everything else that you're doing. And as you evolve as an artist, you know, maybe eventually they do tap into the music. It shouldn't be an expectation, but you know, these days we're bombarded with so much music. Maybe it takes a little while. Maybe it takes a little while for them to live in your world, for them to be like, oh, I actually do rock with this music, you know. But again, create those entry points. You know, and the longer people live in your world, the more successful, you know, you're going to be.
True. Well, on that note, thank you for wrapping this up, Dame. Let everyone know how to get alerted every time we go live twice a week with our free music business mentorship program.
All you need to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. We will send you a text alert right before we go live. We got some really dope sessions coming up, as we always do. Tap in. If you don't, that means you already know everything that you need to know about the music business, and you're probably making a lot of money. So congrats to you.
My cash tag is just DJ Payne 1, if that is the case. All right, I'm going to go run a few miles, try to get this 6-pack, try to get like Erin, and catch you next time. Peace, everyone.
Peace.